Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. Today is August 4th, 2018. It is Saturday night and it's Saturday Night Economics with Smaulgld. And the title of tonight's episode is Why Minimum Wage Laws Are Worse Than You Think. I don't know what you think, but they're probably worse than you think. Or maybe not. First, let's just take a look at the gold silver markets. Gold yesterday closed for the week at 12.13. That was down. Silver, same story, 15.38. Also down. Cryptocurrencies down as well. Bitcoin at 7,033. That's down over 5.5%. Ethereum down 2.5% at 407. Bitcoin Cash down 4.5% at 690, and Litecoin at 73.28. That's down over 5%. So alternative assets going down. The stock markets did indeed close higher, as did the dollar. At the end of the week, the Central Bank of Japan, the People's Bank of China, stepped in and tried to give some support to the yuan. It worked for the closing hours of the day, but when the markets closed, it looks like the dollar regained its balance, and the dollar index is trading at 95.21. Now, the dollar index is not part. The Chinese yuan is not part of the dollar index, but it shows strengthening of the dollar after the foreign exchanges closed to trade the yuan. Also, earlier today, we had a matinee. We did a Smaulgld live stream. Title of that was Why Central Banks Are Buying Gold Hand Over Fist. You want to be sure to check that out. We had a bit of Stormy Daniels weather last night, tornado warning, so we canceled last night's live stream and we did it this morning or early this afternoon. Also today on Smaulgld, we had an hour-and-a-half conversation with Ann Ref. We hope to have that blog post and that video up on BitChute and YouTube sometime tomorrow. Also tomorrow, in case you missed it, top gold and silver stories for the week ended August 5th, 2018 will be up. If those of you don't know what in case you missed it, top gold, silver, and crypto stories is, I do a full week in review of the top stories, just as the title suggests. Moronica will not be broadcast tomorrow. We will have a double Moronica next week, and that'll be up, I think, exclusively, or at least first, on BitChute. For those of you who are not subscribed to Smaulgld on BitChute, make sure you do that, because you never know when we have to move the entire channel over to BitChute. I would say that my channel is probably not in the crosshairs. There's very little controversy that I talk about here, but you never know. Sometimes they get you just on association. I've defended SGT Report in a few videos, and maybe that's enough where they don't like me either. All right. Also, this week, Shanghai Gold Exchange numbers will be out. And remember, on the Smaulgld website, you will see the charts a lot better. I'll have up the Shanghai Gold Exchange numbers as well. Let's see what we got here before we move on. Silver Stack Room tonight. The mug gets a bit of port. Well, that's good to know. You can put port in a mug. All right. Pat is here. Good to see you, DW. Okay, yo. All right. Pat will get your comments on the price of gold when we take the comments later in the show. All right, what else we got? Oh, we're going to have an eraser contest as soon as we first hear a word about mugs. Ten reasons why you should buy a Smaulgld mug. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. Number 1. Mugs have been used for drinking for more than 5,000 years. Number 2. They are finding more uses for mugs every day. Number 3. We could not live our lives without mugs. Number 4. The Russians and Chinese are buying mugs hand over fist. Number 5. Mugs are made in China. Number 6. Mugs are hard assets. Number 7. Mugs are real wealth. Number 8. Mugs cannot go to zero. Number 9. Mugs are portable. Number 10. Mugs are drinking vessels, period. Wait, there is more. You can mix Mountain House in a mug. You can carry your barter silver in a mug. You can do many things with mugs that you cannot do with fiat currencies. Measure your wealth in mugs. They have mugs at the offices of JP Morgan and central banks. That is all you need to know. When the excrement hits the fan, you'll want to have your Smaulgld mug close by. Buy your Smaulgld mugs today. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. Number 11. You can stack mugs. As you can see here, mugs are stackable. Add to your mug stack today. Buy a Smaulgld mug. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. Number 12. You can put coffee in a mug. As you can see here, someone very clever has done so. Buy a Smaulgld mug today. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. Number 13. You can put cognac in a mug. As you can see here, someone is thinking of putting cognac in a mug. Buy a Smaulgld mug today. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. Number 14. You can display a mug on a studio soundboard. As you can see here, someone has displayed a mug on a studio soundboard. This highlights how versatile mugs can be. Mugs can be put in countless places, and we intend to show you as many of those places as possible. Buy a Smaulgld mug today. Reasons to buy and hoard mugs. Number 15. Mugs do not require electricity. As Smaulgld subscriber Wild Bill points out, mugs will still be usable after an EMP. Mugs do not require electricity. Here is a picture of a Smaulgld mug and another Smaulgld mug. They will look the same before and after an EMP and never require electricity. Buy a Smaulgld mug today. Well, there you go. There is your pitch to buy Smaulgld mugs. And by the way, here's what they look like. There's your Smaulgld mugs. On your left is the Smaulgld Super Classic mug, and on the right, the standard Smaulgld Classic mug. They're available at Smaulgld. I've given you the link there. Now, also keep in mind that we now have a new Smaulgld mug. In fact, people say they like a smaller espresso mug. They don't drink as much coffee, or they like their coffee strong. Well, there is your Smaulgld Espresso mug. Now, the Smaulgld Espresso mug is not available for personal shipping from me, but you got to get that one at the Smaulgld store. So I'll leave you the link for that one. If you want a Smaulgld mug, you just go to smaulgld.com, you order directly. I do shipment pretty much as the orders come in. Those of you who order your mugs, you know you get them in a couple of days. We've shipped out dozens of mugs, and I've received pictures back and posted many of them, but not all of them yet. But this is the link for the Smaulgld store. They will ship your mug out for you. At least they are shipping the espresso mug, and also they are shipping the Smaulgld to go travel mug. So if you want a travel mug or you want the espresso mug, you've got to order that from the Smaulgld store. All right, let's take a look now, and I've given you the link there. Before we go into the story of tonight, the question of the evening. Those of you, we already have two winners of the erasers, the Smaulgld erasers. If you want to win a Smaulgld game-changing eraser, as you saw on your screen earlier, you'll want to answer this question. The first person to answer the question correctly and in its entirety in the scroll bar will win a Smaulgld game changer eraser. Here's the question, or here's the setup. In 1920, the United States was minting 90% silver coins, dimes, quarters, half dollars. And in 1920, the United States minted 12 million half dollars, 38 million quarters, and 90 million dimes. Good numbers for minting of quarters, dimes, and half dollars. In 1921, however, the U.S. Mint only managed to mint 2 million or so dimes, under 2 million quarters, and about 1 million half dollars. In 1922, the United States did not mint any dimes, quarters, or half dollars. What is the reason If you watch Smaulgld, you would know this, that the U.S. Mint minted very few dimes in 1921 and no dimes in 1922, no quarters in 1922, and no half dollars in 1922. So if anyone tries to sell you a 1922 dime, quarter, or half dollar, you know it's fake. First one to give me the answer on that. I need the full name of the act that was responsible directly for that issue. You will get your Smaulgld game-changing eraser. Okay. Name of the act is what you need. ASMR people. Not the reason for it, but what was the name of the act? All right. Let's now go to our story of tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about two, I wouldn't say they're fallacies, but they're somewhat moronic ideas that have been bouncing around. The most recent one is this Rent Relief Act from our friend Kamala Harris. We're going to spend a couple of minutes on that. But then we're going to talk about the minimum wage laws. Now, these minimum wage concepts have been around for so long, and the idea is that they're supposed to help the poor. They're supposed to bring them out of poverty. And many of us know the arguments why that ends up not being the case. So let's now take a look at the Rent Relief Act briefly. So Kamala Harris is a Democratic senator from California. And her friend, or senior senator, is Senator Dianne Feinstein. And she also has some of these twisted economic beliefs. We're not going to talk about her tonight. Pittman Act, what year was it, ASMR? And you win. Nationally, she says over 21 million people spend more than 30% of their paychecks on rent. That's absurd. All right, so here you have somebody who can identify a problem. You can say, some people don't have health care. That's a problem. Some people don't make any money. That's a problem. Some people's rents are too high. That's a problem. Well, just because you can identify a problem doesn't mean you know how to solve it. What this Kamala Harris wants to do, we did a full video on this. I'm just covering this as background to the minimum wage laws because it's the same concept. It's called What's Up with the Rent Relief Act. A couple of weeks ago, we did a YouTube on this. And she says, I introduced the Rent Relief Act to help ease the burden. This equals more money in people's pockets at the end of the year. And what she's saying is if you pay more than 30% of your rent, your money, your income in rent, then at the end of the year when you fill out your taxes, you apply for credit and we'll send you some money back. First of all, there's not relief in that right away. You still have to pay the rent all year when you don't have the money coming in. So it's kind of absurd even to suggest it that way. But the real problem with it is, once the landlord knows that you're going to get relief, they're just going to raise the rent and you're going to pay it knowing that you're going to be able to get a tax credit. So basically the taxpayers subsidize the higher rents. And it's a wealth transfer from the average person to the rich landlord. Because if you're looking for an apartment and you can't afford it because it would be at 31% of your income and you're looking at one that might be 28% instead, you say, well, you know what? I'll go for the 31%. And Kamala Harris's bill will take care of me. So you move into a apartment that's more money than you would have paid and more money probably than the landlord would have charged. And then that 28% one, they raise their rate too because they see the next person coming and they have the same issue you had. So they move up. Everyone trades up. The apartments don't get any better. They just get more expensive and subsidized by the government. That's the brilliance of these half-baked ideas where they just want to fix something. It's like you see a problem and you have a hammer and everything looks like a nail. That's a cliche, but that's exactly what it is. Their hammer is they've got government and they can pass legislation and not realize, or maybe they even know, maybe they have the landlord lobby behind them. They can go out there and pitch like they're helping the common person when they're not. They're basically just allowing the landlords to get paid more while the government subsidizes it for the, quote, poor people who are renting. Now, remember, this act also allows them to, you can make $100,000 under this. So it's not just for the poor. It's for anyone who's paying 30% or more. All right. let's now move on to the minimum wage. This is the guts of the show tonight. Minimum wage laws are pet projects of socialists. So Bernie Sanders likes to say, millions of American workers are working today for totally inadequate wages. We must ensure that no full-time worker lives in poverty. The current minimum wage law is starvation pay and must become a living wage. We must increase it to $15 an hour over the next several years. All right. Calm down, Bernie. First of all, you don't insure anything. I don't understand how he thinks he's going to ensure that no full-time worker lives in poverty. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? Wave a magic wand? I don't understand this. But here's the problem with the minimum wage. And everybody knows the problem with the minimum wage. It just makes the employers look for other ways not to pay them. And we've all heard the arguments. The social justice warrior argument that we just heard. We've got to pay a living wage, right? That's the big one. Someone's not paying their fair share, and somebody's not getting paid enough, and the evil employers, they're the ones who need to pay up because everyone deserves money. Now, that's the social justice warrior argument. And they're the ones who argue for rent subsidies, abolishing rent if you could, free college, free health care, all those types of arguments. Now, the other side of that argument is minimum wage laws basically destroy jobs. So if you got to pay everybody $15 and you have 30 workers, you say, all right, I'll pay them all 15. I'll up it from 14, but I'll get rid of 2, and I haven't done the math on that, but they'll figure out a number where their costs aren't increased. So 2 people lose their jobs. That's not a good thing. And then the rest of the people get their $15 an hour. The other thing is it harms entry-level worker job opportunities. You've heard this argument before, too. The employer is willing to pay somebody $8 or $9 to do very, very menial work. They're not going to pay him $15. They just won't bother. They're not going to hire him at all. Well, that just cuts you off. I've seen a picture, I think it was from the Mises Institute, somewhere where they have the ladder, and they just pull the ladder up, and the kid can't get onto the ladder because they've raised the minimum wage. And then, of course, there's the impact on consumers. If somehow the employer doesn't manage to avoid the ill impact on his or her business, then they just raise prices for consumers. So it really doesn't help anybody. And then there's the other argument people say is that, look, minimum wage jobs are not meant to be careers, although some people do spend a career in them. And if an employer wants to reward a worker in a job that's generally minimum wage, usually what they do is they start to pay them more if they think that there's some benefit to having somebody there who's been working there for 5 years, as opposed to hiring someone who doesn't know what they're doing. It's going to take a while to get up to speed. May not have you don't know how loyal somebody's going to be when you hire them. So I would think somebody's working longer term minimum wage probably isn't getting. They should get more, but if they're not, Bernie Sanders is going to fix it. I don't think that's a good idea. But anyway, I have another reason, and this one is perhaps far more impactful on society than any of the ones I've just mentioned. Minimum wage laws, we said, are going to make employers start thinking about how are we going to avoid this hike, this cost on our business? How are we going to avoid that? Well, one of the things that everyone points to is, all right, well, we'll look at the things that we can automate. So, for example, fast food restaurants, yeah, it's nice to have a greeter, but if we got to pay them $15 an hour and to take the order, let's install kiosks, okay? Or maybe even if we have to pay the hamburger flipper $15 an hour, let's come up with a way where maybe we can have that done automatically. Well, people only look at what the employer's doing, but what does the employer have to do to make that happen? He has to buy technology. He has to buy a solution. He has to buy a kiosk, one that works with his system. And that system has to work with his accounting backend. And it has to be of a certain design. And it has to be of a certain shape. It has to be aesthetically pleasing. So all the work that goes into producing a simple kiosk requires a lot of intellectual capital at the highest level. This is not minimum wage jobs. You say, well, now you're creating jobs. Yes, you are. You're creating jobs for people with a lot of skills who are going to code the machines. They're going to work on the software for the machines. They're going to work on the design for the machines. They're going to work on the delivery. They're going to do a lot of work to make these machines such that they can replace workers. But here's a problem with that. While that may solve the problem and say, see, minimum wage jobs don't work, there's a damage done to the world, the economy. What is it? You've misallocated technology and intellectual resources. There's a very limited labor pool of people who can actually code, design, and create these types of things. And the only reason they're creating them, there wasn't a need for them. There was not a need for a kiosk. The only reason there's a need for it is the government enacted a minimum wage law, or they increased the minimum wage, whatever it was, and they forced the employer to look for ways around the government action. The employer wasn't looking to install kiosks. He wasn't looking to fire Sally and Billy at the front. He was fine with them. But now he can't afford Sally, Billy, and Johnny and the rest of them because the government has installed a minimum wage act. Now the owner has to go and find a technology solution. And there's plenty of companies willing to provide that solution. But think about all those people who those technology companies hire. They say, well, that's better. Now we have people working, higher skilled workers, and that's good for the country. It is, but think of all the potential technological developments that could have been enhanced if people were actually working on what the free market wanted, not what the government forced the companies to do. So we don't know. Normally, technological needs arise. Innovation happens when there's a need, not because the government is the need. So government mandated higher wages force companies, business owners, to spend extra time and effort, intellectual and capital resources to counteract the government action of higher wages. And you see, resources are finite. We know that. All labor is finite. But technological resources are far more finite because the people that can do that kind of work have spent a lot of time and money in universities or just working on their own, learning coding, design, whatever it is. These are much more highly skilled workers, and essentially they're working hard to make sure that other hardworking people who aren't getting paid enough, so to speak, can't work anymore. So that's not really pushing the society forward. You're diverting those highly skilled people, those highly skilled design people, the highly skilled analysts, the highly skilled coders, technology workers for more profitable and potentially fruitful efforts. So they're basically innovating around government intervention. Technical workers are smaller than the large pool of unskilled workers. So the minimum wage laws actually have the impact of shrinking the pool of technology workers available to work on other efficiency enhancing projects, such as just improving the products or services to make them better, safer, healthy, cleaner, cheaper, whatever, more durable. But then these people are enlisted, instead of working on that, to solve the higher wage problem imposed not by the market, but by government. So minimum wage laws cause the larger pool of unemployed, unskilled workers to grow. And then you waste the efforts, somewhat, I think, of the higher skilled people working on trying to put the lower skilled people out of work. And I think you can see where it's measurable, the immeasurable parts of what Bastiat and Henry Hazlitt talked about, what's seen and what's unseen. You have no idea what the people that are been diverted to work on kiosks, what they would have come up with if they weren't doing that. We don't know what work they might have been doing. Now, you can calculate the layoffs in the restaurant industry caused by an increase in minimum wage, but you don't know what innovations are sacrificed because intellectual capital was spent creating things like customer ordering kiosks for the restaurant industry just to lower employee costs. So I think that is a very, very, very big diversion and a very negative that no one talks about in the minimum wage laws. And let me just see. Okay, streaming output is low, but I guess you're still hearing because you're commenting. Okay, now a lot of people say, yeah, but employers will always try to do that. Employers will always try to screw the worker. They'll always try to eliminate employees and associated costs. Well, guess what? We never saw kiosks until we started talking about and implementing minimum wage laws. Why? Because employers only think about labor costs when they think they can't make a profit because of them. They generally aren't looking. They're always looking to cut costs, that's for sure. But they know if they cut costs, one of the problems with cutting costs for an employer is he may also, because of cutting costs, cause a degradation in the value of the services that he or she is trying to provide. So they're not going to cut costs if it's going to hurt their business. See, that's what they think, that the minimum wage proponents think that all the greedy entrepreneur wants to do is cut costs, and he was going to institute kiosks anyway, so that argument is dumb because they're always trying to screw us. No. If the company is paying a market-driven wage, not a Bernie Sanders, gotta pay a living wage, and the business is profitable, there's less incentive to invest in a solution designed to eliminate employees. If the cost in doing so would involve capital investment that may not pay off and denigrate the service levels of the company that the company provides to its customers. So there's also less of an incentive for other companies to invest time, resources, financial and intellectual capital to create these types of products like kiosks that are designed to eliminate employees to sell to other businesses, if the target market is coping adequately with the current market-driven labor costs. So if the employers are happy paying what they're happy, not happy, but they can get by paying $13 an hour. $15 an hour makes them start thinking about something else. Well, now you're going to have other companies saying, how do we solve that problem? But again, that problem is caused by government. So now people are going to work on problems that otherwise would not have existed. So that is an unintended consequence of government intervention in the labor market. So the government thrusts itself officiously into markets, and they inevitably create a market imbalance that requires market participants to spend additional resources to counteract them. So the government intervention is adding an unnecessary cost of doing business, and it also is not helping the people that it was designed to help. So it's supposed to help the people that were making lower than the minimum wage that they want them to have. Well, they're not going to get it because they're going to get fired. It's not really helping the company because now they got to invest capital resources to go out and find a company or build it themselves, these kiosks or whatever else they have to do to automate, which maybe they don't have the money for right now. Maybe they were planning on just expanding their business and adding 30 seats to their restaurant. Well, now they can't do that. So now they have to divert resources away from the most important goal of their business, which is serving their customers. Well, now they have to have this project. And this project is to figure out how not to have Sally, Johnny, and Barry at the front anymore. We got to come up with this kiosk. So when you force a company to expend resources in this fashion, not only are you wasting those highly skilled tech resources, you're not really giving your customers an associated improvement. Because most people, unless the people are bad, like if Sally, Barry, and Johnny are nasty when they take your order, well, then it is improvement to get rid of them. But in most places at a restaurant, if they are nice, they add to the overall ambiance of your restaurant. You have greeters and you have people who will take orders. And if you don't have them, and now you have these boxes blinking, there's no real improvement in your business. And society hasn't gained because those kiosks are there. There's no benefit in those kiosks, really. The tech workers could have worked on something else. Sally, Barry, and Johnny could still have their jobs. And the customer has a degraded experience. He has to hit buttons, and maybe he hits the button wrong, and then somebody has to come out and fix it for him. So, in effect, at best, companies faced with this mandated higher wage, and they can jump through the hoops by retooling their business with new automated technology, but they got to pay a lot of money for it. They can fire some workers. And if they're lucky, they come out on the other side and they provide exactly the same products. They didn't invest in product development or improved recipes, whatever they could have done to make their business better. All they're trying to do is work around this minimum wage law. So in the best case scenario, there's no net gain to the economy or society. And actually, we know there's probably a net loss, as workers may have lost their jobs. And now, what happens when a employee loses their job? I guess they are a loser in that sense. They lose their job. The government ends up paying unemployment benefits to the fired workers. So how is anyone better off? Now, the taxpayer has to subsidize the government to pay the insurance for the laid off worker who doesn't want to be laid off, so that tech workers can work on machines so that they can provide a, at best, equal service to the customers. And the employer has a capital expense that he wasn't counting on because he had to either finance these machines or he had to dig into his pocket and pay 50, 80, 100, whatever they cost for the machines. And meanwhile, tech workers are working on stuff that's probably not that exciting. How to do a billing system through a kiosk and do all the software and a design. Who wants to design those machines? They could be designing something else. So the technology resource and workers are deployed to maintain the status quo so companies can stay in business, and by definition, those employees' technology resources were not utilized elsewhere. And the resources and effort